Chairs No Waiting, episode number 206, the eBullet, September 2012. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you by the fine folks over at Weaver's Department Store. Drop by over at Weaver's and pick up some of the best Mayberry items you'll find anywhere. And in the process, you'll be supporting the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club, because Weaver's Department Store is really the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. So drop by over there and buy something from Mr. Weaver. Speaking of Mr. Weaver, Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 206 is brought to you by executive producer Jim Clark. Jim Clark. And the Mayberry Band with our theme song. Jim Clark, the presiding goober of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club, does so much for us. It's only fitting that he'd be the executive producer for Two Chairs No Waiting 206, especially since it's the eBullet. And as you know, I'm assuming you know, Jim Clark is the driving force, the man, the myth, the legend that puts together the eBullet every other month for us, and all us fans enjoy them so much. It's like almost like Christmas when it comes in the email. You know, I get it there. Now, if you don't get the eBullet, I should tell you, the eBullet is the official newsletter of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. And it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. So if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure that you would enjoy copies of the eBullet. And I want to encourage you to head on over to imayberry.com. If you go over there, imayberry.com, there's a section there for newsletters. You just click that. And when you get there, you'll see the Who's Been Messing Up the Bulletin Board Digest, which is a daily email newsletter. But right below it, the eBullet. And the eBullet comes out every other month, and it's filled with Mayberry stuff. You know, it's got news, and we're going to go through it a little bit tonight. And there's also the Weaver's newsletter. So I encourage you to head on over to imayberry.com and click the newsletters link. There's more than one link, actually, that says newsletters, and they all take you to the same place. And you can sign up to get the eBullet, the electronic edition of the official newsletter of the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. And Jim Clark is the man who writes that, and he is also the one who's given me permission to use the eBullet in the podcast. So I want to thank Jim. So let's get right into that, because the new issue just hit the streets. Well, I guess not the streets, actually. The internet. Came out as I record this. It was last night, early this morning it came out. So it should have been waiting for those of you that subscribed right there in your mailbox. And if it's not there, you know, get over there and get you one. Or you can go by the website and read it right there online too. It's right there. So we're going to go, this week's episode, as I told you, is titled The eBullet September 2012. So let's read a little bit about this. This is the fourth issue of the eBullet for 2012. And there's a lot going on. Most notably, Mayberry Days in Mount Airy, North Carolina is coming up next week as we record this show. Next week. Wow. There's also new T-shirts and new wall calendar and all kinds of stuff over at Weaver's Department Store, which is also part of the eBullet and the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club family. So if you buy from Weaver's, as I say every week on the podcast, you will be supporting the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club. Now, when you go and look at the bullet, there is all kinds of information there. There's calendar. Of course, it's got listed off next week, Mayberry Days, the 23rd annual Mayberry Days, September 27th through the 30th. It's awesome. Can't wait to be there. I'm already getting excited about it. We got confirmed stars of Betty Lynn, which is Thelma Lou, Dean Webb. He was with mandolin playing Darlin' Boy. Maggie Peterson, that was Charlene Darlin. James Best, Jim Lindsay. Peggy McKay will be there, Sharon Despain. I've never met her, so it'll be really fun. It's her Mayberry Days and her Mayberry Fan Event debut. Awesome. Morgan Brittany, Opie's girlfriend, Mary Alice Carter, will be making her second trip to Mayberry Days, I do believe. Jackie Joseph, Romina, my darling Romina. Leroy McNeese of the Country Boys. George Spence, he was Frank the fiance, if you don't remember. Margaret Carey, she was Bess Muggins and Helen Scobie. We got Laura Hagen, she's the widow of music director Earl Hagen. Karen Knotts, of course, Don Knotts' daughter. And George Lindsay Jr., and I guess I don't have to say that's George Lindsay's son. So it's going to be a big event, and they'll be doing tributes to Doug and George and Andy Griffith all during Mayberry Days weekend. So if you're there, come and check it out. And if you're not able to go to Mayberry Days, go and check out the eBullet. Go to imayberry.com and click on the eBullet link. It's big. It's a big link right there. And you can read all this information. Now, if you're hearing this later, and it's weeks and months later, still head on over to imayberry.com, click the eBullet link, because a new eBullet comes out every 2 months. And so there will be all this information updated and available there as well. So I definitely want to encourage you to head over there and check it out, because there is so much there, including the Halloween Cruise to Mayberry 7 coming up October 29th through the 3rd of November. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. Selling again with all the Mayberry fans is awesome, awesome. Now, what we're going to read from the eBullet and visit is news of cast and crew, because I believe that's always something to take a really fun little snapshot of just what's going on in and around Mayberry. I think you're going to enjoy this. News of cast and crew. Jim Neighbors has recovered well from heart surgery in Hawaii on May 29th. Unable to be at the Indianapolis 500 in person to sing Back Home Again in Indiana, Jim made a recording that was played on the public address system before the race. And there's an interview, if you go to the eBullet, with Jim that was in the Indianapolis newspaper. It's racingindy.com. There's a link right there with an interview about Jim. And Jim Neighbors also performed at the Hawaii Symphony Orchestra with them in a special July 4th concert. That's great news about him. Ron Howard, Opie Taylor. Ron Howard has completed filming in England for a Formula One racing movie, Rush, his latest as a director. Ron is fun to follow, by the way, on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account, you can follow him at Real Ron Howard. No spaces. At Real Ron Howard on Twitter. And it's a lot of fun. He posts things from time to time. He tweeted a lot during the production of Rush. The film is currently set for release on September 20th, 2013. Ron is also partnering. Gosh, I can't say partnering. There we go. With Canon USA for a second year in a photo contest. The theme of this year's contest is Long Live Imagination. And you can learn more about that. There's a link in the eBullet if you're interested. The TV production of Ron's Imagine Entertainment was involved in the summer reality show The Great Escape that was on TNT. And it's producing How to Live with Your Parents for the Rest of Your Life for ABC this fall, as well as another season of Parenthood for NBC. Ron's also directing a documentary of Jay-Z's Budweiser Made in America Music Festival in Philadelphia over the Labor Day weekend. That's awesome. Signs are strengthening again for Ron's ambitious production of Stephen King's The Dark Tower. Russell Crowe's name keeps popping up, and the script is said to be progressing well. Meanwhile, Ron is executive producer and narrator, and is also acting on camera for the resurrection of Arrested Development for Netflix, and eventually a possible big screen movie. All right. Ron is also developing Conquest, a drama about a Spanish conquering the Aztecs for Showtime. He'll likely direct the project. And his Imagine Entertainment is developing a feature film on soccer great Pele for release in 2014. And you never know, Ron may now have another trick or two up his sleeve, so keep watching. Clint Howard, that's Ron's little brother, played Leon. Clint Howard has several acting projects in various stages of production. Keep an eye out for his diabolical. Anyway, you know what it says. The Amdro Ant Block commercial. If you haven't seen it, that's really fun to see. Look for it if you see it on TV. Rance Howard plays Diabolical. There, I said it. There, I got it. Rance Howard plays a train engineer in The Lone Ranger, which is wrapped filming and is scheduled for release the week of 4th of July, 2013. And he's in several other movies that are about to start production. And He was in a April Grey's Anatomy episode. He and Clint, Ron's brother, his son, also recently filmed an episode of Showtime's Huff. And be sure not to miss Rant's special story exclusive to the eBullet. It's called At a Glance with Rants, and we'll look at that in just a few minutes. We won't miss that. So that's a teaser. So you got to keep listening until we get to that part. Betty Lynn continues to greet fans monthly at the Andy Griffith Museum and is eager to welcome thousands of fans back to Mount Airy for Mayberry Days later this month. Maggie Peterson, Charlene Darlin, is doing several Mayberry events this year with TV brother Rodney Dillard, and she performs regularly at the world-famous Bootlegger Bistro in Las Vegas with her husband Gus Mancuso. Dean Webb is featured in a nice profile by Bill Graham in the Mandolin Cafe blog. And see, in the calendar up here at the eBullet, you can check it out or check out the event calendar at imayberry.com for Dean's remaining 2012 performing dates with bluegrass performing dates with the Missouri boat ride. There you go. I think I got all that out. James Best was in Romania. James played Jim Lindsay, also Roscoe, of course, was in Romania in June filming Confessions of a Discarded Woman, a movie written and produced by daughter Janine and her husband Michael Damian. James has also been painting a lot and making some Dukes of Hazzard personal appearances. And the big news is the return of The Killer Shrews, starring James and produced by James's wife, Dorothy. That movie gnawed its way across the red carpet for its world premiere fundraiser in Bristol, Virginia on July 27th. So head on over to the Killer Shrews website. It's killershrews.movie.com. killershrews.movie.com. A link is in the eBullet, so drop by over there and check it out. Amid work on her memoirs, Margaret Carey played two characters in 2 episodes, as I mentioned earlier, spoke about her Disney experiences at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in July. She has appeared recently at some Disney and animation conventions. Ronnie Shell, Duke Slater from Gomer Pyle, he's also on the Andy Griffith Show, but he performed at Harvey's Improv Room in Lake Tahoe this summer and will be performing at Las Vegas in November. He's going to be in Las Vegas. And Howard Morris's son, David, has his EarnestT.com website up and rocking again with new stuff. So drop by EarnestT.com and check it out. So that's just some of the news that's in the eBullet. I'm going to give you just a little bit of the news about some folks that have passed away. We've already talked about a few that we knew about already, but here's a few other. Norman Alden, who played Tom Strongbow in The Battle of Mayberry, that's episode number 188, and Mount Pilot bowling team leader Hank in Howard the Bowler, episode number 221, passed away in Los Angeles on July 27th. He performed in over 2,000 television episodes, movies, and commercials, usually as a heavy, tough guy or some no-nonsense official. His roles ranged from years as the voice of animated Aquaman in the 70s, which I did not know. He was Aquaman's voice in the Super Friends. I didn't realize that. To Mechanic Lou in the long-running series of commercials for AC Delco. I won't go into all the other parts of his wonderful career, but I do encourage you to head over to the eBullet September 2012 and read this stuff. It's really amazing stuff. He appeared in so many things: Batman, Hogan's Heroes, Wyatt Earp, Gunsmoke, My Favorite Marshal. I could just keep reading off names, but he was very prolific, and I definitely want to encourage you to drop by. Now, RG, he was Bob Armstrong. He played Farmer Flint in Ellie Saves a Female, Frankie Flint's father. That was episode number 27. He died on July 27th in Los Angeles, and he was 95 years old. Now, I didn't know some of this stuff, so I'll tell you this. Robert Golden Armstrong Jr. was born April 7th, 1917 in Birmingham, Alabama, and he graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where he met Andy Griffith. They performed together in the Carolina Playmakers Campus Theater Group and also in the outdoor drama The Lost Colony. Andy's starring role in Egyptland, a play Bob wrote as his master's thesis at University of North Carolina, was a crucial factor in Andy's keen interest in acting. Whoa, didn't know that. That's big news. And again, I won't read all of his stuff, but he was in so many movies, and definitely want to encourage you to head over there and check it out. He even made a appearance on Matlock at one point. So you guys check that out as well. R.G. Armstrong is survived by 4 daughters, a son, and 5 grandchildren. And I remember him well. So I definitely want to encourage you to head over there. And, of course, I don't know that we've mentioned this on the podcast, but Charles Dow passed away recently. Our great friend and Snappy Lunch owner, Charles Dow, passed away September the 4th after a long illness. He was 84 years old. And if you'll remember, there was we did a podcast with an interview with Charles. So definitely want you to go back and check that out. And I'll have a link in our show notes to that interview as well. Great write-up in the Bullet as well. And as Jim says in the Bullet, our hearts go out to Mary and daughter Jamie and all of Charles's family and the Snappy Lunch staff. He will definitely be missed. Now, we got one more little bit here that I'm going to read to you that's out of there. There's a lot more information in there if you hadn't gone and checked out the eBullet. There's a chapter update with new chapters like the Mount Pilot Pickle Packers, the Halcyon Loretto Winslow chapter. That's obvious. That's awesome. That was in Nicholasville, Kentucky. I like that. Oh, and this one is in Oak Hill, Ohio. The name of the chapter is After All, He Is One of My Own Kind. Opie. Remember Opie said that? He didn't want to say anything about him. Oh, man. And then Bernard, St. Louis, Missouri chapter that's called We Tried to Tell Him, Didn't We, Andy? Remember Mayor Pike said that. And, of course, I'm going to read all the chapter names. It looks like Corbin, Kentucky, the Chester Jones and Two-Faced Cheating Liars chapter. I love the chapter names you guys come up with, and it's fun to go and just read them because there's so many that bring back memories from the Andy Griffith Show episodes themselves. So I definitely want to encourage you to head over and check that out. Now we got a special event here. Special. It's called At a Glance with Rance Howard. Now this is in the eBullet, so I don't want to take credit for it, but this is an awesome little bit of Mayberry trivia. So here we go, reading from the eBullet. When Rance Howard, Ron and Clint's dad, shared comments for our Remembering Andy Griffith special edition of the eBullet in July, he also had a story that has a great nugget of Mayberry trivia. It really didn't fit in our tribute issue for Andy, but as promised, here's Rance's special story. This is quoting Mr. Howard. It says, I have one little thing I've been saving to reveal. It's how Andy Taylor got his name Taylor. When we were doing the Danny Thomas pilot for the show, his last name was originally Hopper. In the story, when Andy gives Danny a ticket for running a stop sign, that town hadn't yet been able to afford to put it up. The Hopper name was a setup for a joke. Rance continues. Danny asked Andy, what's your name? And Andy replies, Andy Hopper. And then Danny says, well, I'm going to hop all over you, boy. And that was kind of a joke. During rehearsals, Sheldon Leonard, who was directing the episode, asked Andy what he thought of the name. And Andy said, well, it don't just cheer me up. And Sheldon asked him, would you like to try some other names? And Andy allowed as to how he would. So the producers and the writers got together, and finally somebody came up with Andy Taylor. And Andy said, yeah, Andy Taylor. I like that. So that's how Andy Taylor came to be. They sacrificed a joke to give Andy a name that would be synonymous with Mayberry and not make a joke out of the sheriff. That helped set the tone for the series. Editor's note, Jim Clark says, our thanks to Rance for sharing this fascinating behind-the-scenes moment with us. and for prosperity. Posterity, I should say, not prosperity. Posterity. You really should go read the eBullet. It's written much better than I read it. Now, Jim Clark is awesome. He uses all kinds of wonderful puns at times. He's a great pun person, and if you ever get to emailing him back and forth or corresponding with him in any way, you'll see that. Of course, if you go to the eBullet, you'll also see chapter news. You're going to see the merchandise update from Weavers, where you'll see the 2013 Andy Griffith Show wall calendar, weaversdepartmentstore.com. Also, the 2 new T-shirts that they've got for us over there, plus some other stuff that's there at Weavers. And I definitely want to encourage you to head over there and check it out, because we got some special rare items like Goober in a Nutshell, the book. They found a few of those, so head over and get you a copy. And they've got copies that are autographed by George, but they cost a little bit. But head over there and check it out. And just check out everything over at the eBullet. Just go to, if you go to the front page of imayberry.com and scroll down just a little bit, there's a huge link for the eBullet right there. And there's also a link right at the top of the page that says the eBullet. So just head on over and support your local sheriff. In this case, support Jim Clark at the Andy Griffith Show Real Watchers Club. He digs you, so you be nice and dig him back. How about that? So, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Just a little trip through Mayberry and an encouragement to go and get the actual eBullet so you can see everything that Jim wrote, because every word is like gold. And I did say gold. You hear that? I did say gold. You're not cold. It's gold. So, folks, hey, I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at 888-684-8415. You can also call me. Well, that's where you can call me. Or you can email me at floyd@imayberry.com. Or you can drop by the websites over at twochairsnowaiting.com. If you go there, you can leave a comment on any of the episodes. Or you can also head on over to the Facebook fan page for Two Chairs at facebook.com/2chairs. Folks, I would love to hear from you, and I want to thank you again for taking time to spend this time with me here in Mayberry. Until next week, guys, we'll see you there. Bye, guys.